Usually, Carla went to see Dottie because Barb or Jan was too scared to go alone, and they would beg her to go along until she would agree. But this time Carla was going to see Dottie because she wanted to, for herself, plain as that. She had some things on her mind, things that were bothering her, things that wouldn't go away, some stuff she would really like to know. Dottie lived out in the country. Not exactly farmland, but the yards were pretty big. There was more space between the ranch houses, and things just seemed to be more open out there. Dottie's house looked like any other on the street. There was no sign out or anything. That was one of the things that Carla liked about Dottie. She didn't put on any big spiritual act, no mumbo-jumbo to convince people of her powers, like the wizard inside the huge booming machine of Oz. Dottie was just a pleasant, middle-aged housewife who happened to have these powers, and she sort of shared them with people she knew, trying to be helpful. And all the people who came to see her had heard about her strictly through word of mouth. The word on Dottie was good. Barb had told Carla about her, and Jan had told Barb, and Carla didn't know who told Jan, but that's the way it worked. Carla had been to other psychics, just for fun, just to see what it was like. Some took it way too seriously for her. They had a lot of props and dressed funny and had dreamed up some name for themselves like Lady Carolyn or Madame Ravenowski. Around them, Carla could barely restrain her giggles. But Dottie was so relaxed and natural about everything that she made it seem real. Dottie was humble. She said she was someone who just happened to have this power, the way other people are tall or blonde or born rich. Actually, Dottie said that everyone had the power, somewhere inside them. It's just that some people, for unknown reasons, are able to direct the power, to focus it, harness it. Carla believed that that was true. Dottie answered the door cheerfully, as she always did. Carla didn't know why Barb and Jan were afraid to see her, unless it was their usual silliness. Visiting Dottie was not threatening at all. She was like a favorite aunt. She invited Carla in and asked her if she would like anything to drink. Carla said no, she was fine. Dottie asked her if she would like to begin, and Carla said, yes, let's. They went into Dottie's living room and sat down on two chairs that were close together, facing one another. The curtains were drawn in this room and the lights were off, so that even though it was midday, it was dark inside. Not dark exactly. Carla could see perfectly well. She wasn't tripping over furniture, but the light was dim enough so that Carla could feel her eyes adjust. The room was quiet, too. Carla could hear the regular tick of a clock. And the room was cool. Dottie had the air conditioner on. Dottie did not burn incense or light candles. She had told Carla before that the important thing was to limit the amount of sensation, physical stimuli, when you wanted to concentrate on the psychic dimension. And Carla thought that was exactly right. Was there any special reason why you wanted to see me today? Dottie said. No, nothing special, Carla said. I've just got a few things on my mind, and I was wondering if you could maybe help clarify them for me. We will do our best, said Dottie. She put out her hands, Carla took her hands, and the two women sat there, facing one another, holding hands. Dottie had her eyes closed and her head down. Carla was looking at the older woman, trying to empty her mind of extraneous thoughts. The voices are very strong, said Dottie, softly, without moving her head or opening her eyes. Perhaps the grip of her hands tightened slightly. Very strong. Then Dottie raised her head and looked at Carla. You are a sensitive yourself, she said. You feel it too. You're very intuitive. I think I may be, said Carla. Dottie smiled. You are, she said. Trust me. Very few of the people I see make me feel like this. Like what? Said Carla. So in tune with the spirit voices, Dottie said. Many times I have to strain to hear, so faint is the contact. With you, the voices compete to be heard. Wow, said Carla. She did think, without really knowing why, that, how to say it, she was more of a right-brain person than most. She thought that logic and reason and scientific measurement were all vastly overrated as ways of knowing. There were other ways of knowing things, intuitive, like Dottie said. If you had a problem and you just opened yourself to it, sometimes the answer would come, pop into your head. It sounded goofy, and people would laugh at you if you told them that, but sometimes it really happened. Dottie had told Carla something like this once before. She had told her that she had been a very spiritual person in a previous life, very possibly a nun, and she might have even died for her faith. Carla believed the part about being very spiritual, but not about being a nun. You had to be objective about what was said to you, to judge whether it applied to you or not. That's what Carla thought. Some of what Dottie said, Carla instinctively felt it was true, but a lot of it was irrelevant. That didn't discredit Dottie, that's just the way it was. Not even a true psychic knew everything, or was right all the time. Carla believed in spirits and reincarnation and karma and energy levels and chakras and whether or not you were in tune with the way things were supposed to be, achieving the harmony in your life. Carla believed all of that. But as for having once been a penguin, come on, that was just too much. After a while, Dottie released her hands and turned to a low table on her left, Carla's right. On it were a deck of cards. Dottie touched the top card in the deck, let her hand rest on it for a moment, and then asked Carla to please cut the deck in any way she wanted, leaving 3 piles. Carla did this, and Dottie said, "What is your first question?" Carla said, "It's kind of nebulous, but it's about my career. I seem to be getting nowhere, no matter what I try to do. Am I just spinning my wheels? Should I get out and try something else? I'm feeling very frustrated about it right now." "Is that all?" Dottie said. Carla said yes, and Dottie turned over the card on top of one of the 3 stacks. The cards were not absolute indicators, Dottie had told Carla before, but they were aids. They helped her find a way to listen to the voices and interpret what they were saying. The card on top was the 4 of clubs. Dottie stared at the card for a while without speaking, and then she said, "Difficulties are a blessing. Never curse a hardship. Meet it head on and give thanks for the opportunity. It has been given to you to raise your consciousness. You can accept it now or let it pass, but if you choose to pass, you must face it another day, in this life or some other." Carla said, "All right, I think I understand, but sometimes it just gets so hard, you know what I mean? I can start thinking, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And I don't like to question myself like that, in such a fundamental way." "Yes, it can be very painful," said Dottie. "You must be determined. You need to be strong. Focus your energies. Think positively. Psychic powers, which you have in abundance, are completely negated by negative thoughts. Do not place limitations on your own powers." "All right," said Carla. "What is your second question?" said Dottie. On the way out here, Carla had worried about her 3 questions. She only had 2, and Dottie had always asked for 3. Then she remembered that Barb had told her to ask this question, and Carla had told her to ask it herself, but Barb said, Carla didn't remember what Barb had said, but she'd made some typical excuse and pressed Carla to ask the question, and now Carla couldn't think of a 3rd question, and she wanted to save her own question for the last, so she said, "A friend of mine wanted me to ask you a question. It's pretty weird." "You are not questioning me," said Dottie. "I am not providing the answers." "Yes, well, okay," said Carla. "What is your question?" said Dottie. "Well, my friend wanted me to ask, that space shuttle that blew up, the Challenger, well, she said that she heard that the reason it blew up was because we are being watched by people like people from somewhere else, and they don't want us to travel in space at this time, so they arranged for the rocket to blow up so it would discourage us." Carla finished speaking. Dottie sat and looked at her without replying. "And she wanted to know if there was any truth to that," Carla said, "if there could be." Dottie turned over a second card. It was the 7 of spades. Dottie looked at the card for a while and then said, "I have been in contact with the ancient ones, those who rule nothing but know all. Their wisdom is perfect. Their energy is now in complete harmony with the creative force. They are full partners in the final unity, and in regard to this question, they have told me that this is something you are not to worry about. It is not your concern. Okay, Carla said. What is your final question, said Dottie. Well, it's personal, said Carla, and she laughed. I guess you could say it's about my love life. I mean, it is, or what little there is of it. I was just wondering, if it's ever going to happen, if there's any chance I might meet Mr. Right. Is he out there, or am I just... I understand your question, said Dottie. It is one that concerns everyone. Yeah, well, I think about it a lot, said Carla. I'd really like to meet somebody. Turn a card, said Dottie.